Judge Napolitano, this guy was integral, remains integral, and his name attached to so many Wall Street-related cases, harassment cases, you name it.
And many of the challenges of the Trump administration, which were waged by state attorneys general, he's the lead challenger, meaning his office prepared the papers and his office does the work, and the other attorneys general, like our home state of New Jersey, just sort of hop along for the ride. I don't think any of that is going to change. I don't know Barbara Underwood, but I would imagine she was his deputy. She is likely to be of the same mindset, and clearly the legislature will pick somebody for the 8 months remaining in this year who will be of the same mindset, and the people who will choose who they want, undoubtedly a Democrat, this is New York, in the election in November.
So that whoever that person is would pick up the baton and pursue these cases, but a lot of them would be coming in just getting familiar with the cases themselves. There would certainly be some delay, right?
There's always a little bit of a delay when you change leadership, but these cases are really worked. The people who do the preparing of the paperwork and the examination of the documents and engaging with adversaries at a couple of levels below the AG. This is the permanent class of career prosecutors, so that's not going to change. And the direction of those cases is not going to change. The public face of them will change. It's interesting, though, he attempted to make his mark by going after Harvey Weinstein for a behavior not unlike what brought him down.
You know, he was the face of this whole Me Too movement, if you think about it.
Yes, now, he wasn't very effective until yesterday.
So he is claiming, he didn't deny the allegations per se as much, saying what this was, consensual on the part of these women and himself. But where does this go?
Well, without getting lurid, even weird and bizarre and physically painful behavior consented to by adults as part of a unique relationship is lawful. So if Cy Vance indicts him, because these events occurred in New York City, where he's the district attorney, the local prosecutor, then it will be he said versus four she said if there's actually a trial. I doubt there'd be a trial. This is the type of thing that begs for a plea agreement, because a trial would expose, details that we really aren't happy about listening to. But if he could persuade a jury that these four ladies who profoundly say it was not consensual did consent, he's home free. If they did not consent, he's facing a lot of jail time. I mean, there is not only physical violence,
how would you prove that they didn't consent unless they filed reports prior or no?
We don't know if they filed reports prior. It sounds like they didn't, because if they had, we'd know about it. Those reports would be public.
Some of these were fairly recent, too,
yes,
right?
It would be their word, the four of them, against him. He'd have to take the witness stand and deny it, and a jury would decide who they believed.
The fact that this was so fast and that he resigned, obviously the governor telling him to, virtually everyone to him, I mean, it was boom.
It must have been bubbling below the surface, and the governor and the political class must have known about it, and the press didn't get their hands on it until last night. I have not seen a resignation on the basis of just allegations this fast in recent years. I can't even think of one that happened this quickly.
You know, this is one of the most tawdry cases that the tabloids and newspapers are on top of. In your description of what happened, not once did you get even borderline tawdry, which makes you the superstar legal mind you are.
Now, if you want that tawdry stuff discussed in detail, where's Gasparini?
Exactly. We're going to balance that out. Judge, you are the best, my friend, time and again and again and again.
Pleasure, Neil.
All right.